Good morning and welcome on this Friday morning. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin Up Demonstrator based here in the UK, and it's lovely to welcome you in. And you welcome me in as I am just perplexed. The borrowers have been in again. I don't know whether you have borrowers in your craft room. Or whether you saw my post about borrowers last week, but they've been in and completely had off with a pack of paper. I can't find it anywhere. I'm sure I will once I finish this live, but for now the borrowers have it, so we'll have to carry on without it. So good morning. My name is Helen Jennings, Love-a-Duckie. This is me. If you're looking to find out any more about me or about, I don't know whether they're your borrowers, whether they're my own, Jackie, but if you're looking to find any more about me, you can check me out on www.loveaduckie.co.uk, and you'll find all sorts of links and inspiration over there, so do go and check that out. And you'll find things like my host code if you're shopping with me and all those sorts of things. But we're going to have a bit of a look at the butterfly Brilliance. And that's who else have I seen? Good morning to Lucy. Jackie's there. Good morning, Beryl, Caroline, Lisa. Lovely. Welcome in anybody that's coming to join us, and do say hello. Do comment. Do add in your 2 penny worth. If you think that something else would look better or whatever, do let me know. But we're going to have a look at the Butterfly Brilliance. Now, it's been available for customers for a little while, but the stamp set was on back order and mine has only arrived beginning of this week. So this is the first real opportunity I've got to be able to play with the complete collection myself and with you. So that's what we're going to do today. So what is the Excellent, Lucy. You have fun with those. The Butterfly Brilliance Bundle. What is the Butterfly Brilliance Bundle? Well, it is available now to customers. Invisible Man. Yeah, I just don't know. I've looked in all of the obvious places. I'll have to try, the fridge, possibly when we finish. Anything is possible. Anyway, Butterfly Brilliance, it's not that you won't find it in a catalogue. It is available you will find links to it on my website and those sorts of things. There is this lovely leaflet available, but it is partly a time constrained special offer, get it while stocks last, and partly an early release from the new annual catalogue that will go live to customers at the beginning of May. So some of it is sneaky peeks of things that are going to be in that catalogue. Some of it is, if you don't get it now, you're not going to be able to get it, because once that catalogue goes live, they're going to disappear. So let's have a look at what it is that's sneaky peek and what is going to disappear for good. So we'll start with the stamp set, and it is called Butterfly Brilliance, and the images on these stamps are just stunning. Gorgeous. You've got 6 butterflies there, but if you have a look, it says number of stamps 1. It always tells you on the front of your boxes how many stamps there should be. So if you finish crafting and want to do a quick count up and make sure that you put them all back in the box, that's where you'll find how many is supposed to be in there. This one is 1. Now, as you can see, I've not even done anything with it yet. It is one big, beautiful stamp. And you'll see why that is in a moment. But that doesn't mean that you can't use individual butterflies, but it comes as one big stamp. Now, I did see a demonstrator the other day that had popped these out and was using the back of her stamp to make tie-dye images that were really quite cute. I need to go back and have a look, because I can only imagine that she didn't add her stickers to the back. I'll have to have a look at that and see if she did. So you pop in those little bits out. You can keep those anyway. Don't necessarily throw those away. They're quite good if you want to use little oddments for something. If you desperately need a cow print, for instance, they would be brilliant, but you can put those up on a block and create brilliant patterns with those. So don't lose those. Don't just throw those away. They're really useful. So one stamp, one great big beautiful butterfly stamp. Then we're going to get some dies, and if there's only one stamp, there's one whole lot of dies. It's really quite heavy. I have already put these on to magnetic plates. This die here, if I pop that out, is one huge die. Oh, and surprise, surprise, if we were to take this stamp set out and were to lay that die over the top of it, you will find that it will die cut all of those butterflies. So one stamp, one die, 6 butterflies. Brilliant stuff. That's why it's called Brilliance Wings. Do you think? Brilliant Wings. It's Brilliant Wings because it's brilliant stuff. So you get the one big die that cuts all of those butterflies out together. You get 6 detailed dies, and they just are stunning. Look at those. Different sizes. And all, I would imagine, somewhere along the line, yep, equating to the 6 butterflies on there. So if you want overlays for those butterflies, you've got them. There they are. So one big die to cut out all 6 stamped images, 6 detailed butterflies, and then we've got a couple of little ones in here. We've got this here that just gives you like a sort of dotty effect in your card. You've got this here that actually gives sort of brick cutouts, and I've seen lots of people using that for stencils. And then you've got this that cuts these slits into the card. So they're sort of little details you can add to your card base. So a really fun stamp set and die collection, and it is this that you will find in the annual catalogue come May. So you can get it now, but you're also going to be able to get this in May. So what is it that you can't get in May? What you're not going to be able to get is the paper. So this is the Butterfly Bijou 6x6 papers. And yes, as Glenda has said, that big die just there, we will have a look at that in a minute when we get to that sheet of paper. But you've got lots of beautiful butterfly images, like that ombre image there, all of those little butterflies. I would imagine that possibly, I don't know whether those little butterflies, as I say, I've not had a full play with this yet. I don't know whether these line up with any of these, possibly not. But you've got little butterflies there. You've got this one with this beautiful background on it. You've got these stunning background papers. Look at that. Aren't they fun? It's nice, isn't it? Got the detail in there. Another blobby one. This is just stunning, the background of this paper. And then this paper just here, as Glenda has just said, if we take this die here, you can lay it over that paper, and voila, die cut all of these beautiful butterflies. And I have already created, I've die cut one sheet and created some cards with it that went up on blog hops over the last few weeks. So this paper here you are only going to be able to get until the end of May, or possibly while stock lasts. If it gets late and they start to run out completely, then they may well shut it off. And the other paper that you can get, the borrowers are currently playing with. And that is 2 sheets of this Natural Touch Speciality paper. Now, I know I've had it because I've touched it and I felt it. And it does almost feel like, it would make great envelopes, yeah, to match the card. Does almost feel grainy. It is really interesting paper. So it is this natural birch colour, natural wood. Let me take this out of here. You've got this natural wood paper with like this sort of textured feel to it. It's really interesting, and yeah, a nice paper. And when it comes back to life and I find it in the fridge in an hour, we'll use it another day. But for now, it is hiding. It's a 12 by 12 piece of paper. How easy is it to hide? Obviously easier than you would think. So with this pack of paper, you get 8 of each design, and obviously each design is double-sided. So you get 48 sheets in there, and just gorgeous. So that's our collection of dies and stamps and things. So what can we do with them? Oh, I think the world is our oyster with these, don't you? I'm going to take this back off. And I am going to put my sticky sheet on. And obviously I've also got sticky bits in there that I could put, cling bits I could put on the back of those oddments as well. Now, you need to take this fairly gently and slowly. And then let's pop these bits out of here. So these are the little cling bits, and I will put those all on later because it will just save those little bits rolling around in my box. They will at least stick to the box. And last but not least, so the other thing that's always good with a big stamp like this is your Stamparatus. So I think I'm going to take my Stamparatus, now this stamp is actually bigger than, here we are, here we have a card that's folded, a card base. The stamp is bigger than a standard card base. So obviously if you were to stamp it on the front, it would go off over edges and things, but that in itself is a nice effect. But then obviously if you're die cutting all the butterflies, if you do that, it doesn't matter really, because you can bring them in on top of each other or whatever, or just use some, or mass stamp a whole load of butterflies. Colour them in later. I'm just going to bring that bit of card in there, I think, for ease this morning. Put a couple of magnets on it, make sure that that's missing. Yes. Now this one I'm going to stamp with my memento, because I'm not going to colour them all in, but we might colour in 1 or 2 with our Stampin Blends. So let's start off with a black base. Give that a good press down. Now obviously if you just want one of the butterflies, you could just sort of, you've got a couple of options. So one of the things I will do is I will cut myself a mask with this, and we could use that in our Stamparatus. In fact, we'll do that in a minute. So if you just wanted to stamp an individual butterfly, you'll be able to do that. I'm going to go over that again. I think particularly down this bottom corner, could do with a little bit more welly. And that obviously is a nice thing about your Stamparatus. You can come in again, that's better, and make them a clearer image. Just look at those stamps. Are they not, could you not, is it just me? Could you not just sit and look at those and go, look how pretty they are. So what we'll do then is we will take our big die. I'm going to grab a little bit of washi tape just to hold it down top and bottom. Now you will need a big machine for this. This one won't go through a mini stamping, cut and emboss. We need the big brother. Still thinking about that paper. Has it fallen down the back of that unit? No, it hasn't. Okay, so let's pop that out, and this one here we will use as our template, so we will hang on to that. So now I have, look at that, a flutter of butterflies. And obviously, you know, you could, if you fancy doing something like a big piece of wall art or something with lots of butterflies, it wouldn't take you very long to cut out loads of butterflies, and then you could take your colouring pens, sit in front of the telly, put on a good film, and colour to your heart's content, can't you? So which one shall we have? Let's come for this one, shall we? Let's go for the big one. Just is beautiful. Decisions. What colours shall we have? Let's have a little bit of Mango Melody. Obviously, you could, you know, check out. You get your butterfly books out and go for. Go for genuine colours, or you can be mad. I think I'm going to go in some dark granny apple green on these little bits just here. Children might quite enjoy colouring these in as well. So you can have them as main focuses on cards, small little elements on cards. Have them on your scrapbook pages. I don't think there's any end to where these could take you. Just going to cover over the top of that shading bit. That will just add to the shading. There's no reason why we shouldn't colour over the top. Not sure what sort of a butterfly this is. It's a Love-a-Duckie butterfly, yet to be discovered in the natural world. Here, this is a glass mat, Glenda. So no, it's not grid paper, it is a grid glass mat, and I've had it for years and years and years. So the grid is sort of inbuilt into the mat. And I often get asked by it. They are still available, I think, but obviously not a Stampin' Up product. But it just sits on my craft desk, and to be honest, I forget it's there. No, I sometimes think if I'm being really good, I should cover that up because it's not a Stampin' Up product. But that would require a lot of thought at 9 o'clock in the morning. I do love our grid paper, and I do use that. But I have to say, when I'm just sitting here working by myself, I tend to use my glass mat, just because that's what I've done for the last, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, 18 years. So old habits die hard, don't they? It's in need of a bit of a scrub. But that's the nice thing, is I can scrub it up, get all that glue off of it. I know there have been some appeals recently for Stampin' Up to bring one out, but I would imagine it would be a nightmare in terms of posting them out around the world. So I'm coming in with some Mango Melody on the edges. It is indeed a very rare species, this one. Only to be found in my craft room. I get very upset when butterflies come into my craft room, not because I don't love butterflies, I do, but because I'm in the conservatory, it can get very hot, and they get very frustrated because they're sort of trying to get out of through the glass, and they can't get out. So I have been known to be climbing over things, trying to catch them to get them out of the door. Telling them all the time that, come on, let me get you. You'll die if you stay in here. So there we are, a very rare species of butterfly indeed. But that's the lovely thing about crafting, is you can create what you like with them. I'm going to give this a bit of a curve. These wings up a little bit. Right, let's have a think. Let's have some granny apple green. Melon Mambo is the other colour we've got there. Right, I think we're going to go with a granite green card base. Just create a card base, fold that over, bring in a Melon Mambo mat. That's a whole lot of mousse going on there, isn't there? Digging through my little oddments of card, looking for the Melon Mambo. Just going to trim this down. I'm not going to use all of this by any means. I'll just trim it down to the same side as that pink for now. Then let's have a play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Simply Chamois. Let's give this a bit of a wipe, a bit of our black ink on there, and then bring in some Melon Mambo. Now what I want to do is decide where this needs to be. Now this is going to be a hit it once, because if I put magnets on it, it won't stamp where the magnets are. So I could put something underneath. I could put a little glue dot on to hold it down or something. What I'm going to do is ink that up. Could have perhaps gone further up at the top, but that's okay. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Just a card base. I'm going to cut this into a piece like that. And let's come back to our dies and let's have a little explore with some of these dies just here. So I'll bring in my mini cutting emboss so that we can have a clay together. So I'm going to lay that across there. What this does is it gives these sort of patterns in the cardstock. Let's do a couple more. Actually, where that's rolled over that cardstock, it's not quite so embossed now. The card has been flattened slightly, so I'm going to try where I can not to roll over the edge of the pieces I've just done. Brilliant. So now we've got, can you see where that one is flattened out slightly, where it's gone back through the machine compared to these ones? So with these ones I avoided going back through the machine, which is a nice little something you can do a little bit easier with that little machine. Sorry, apologies for knocking you flying. I'm now going to take this and I'm going to tear it down this one side. It's quite fun. It's got sort of these bits are a little bit frilly. Okay, so let's stick this down on the pink. Tie that round. We might need to wiggle the positioning on this eventually, we'll see. Now this is an image only stamp set, so you haven't got any sentiments in here. But I'm sure we'll find something somewhere. Now I'm wondering whether I'm going to bring that bow to the bottom and have our butterfly at the top. A madly bright butterfly. And take some mini dimensionals and put down the couple down the centre, and then I'm going to put some just on the end, the wings here. Hi Jane. Oh, that's okay. No detentions here. Right, so we'll curl that up a bit. We will stick his body down, and then we'll make sure that his wings are, hers wings are curved as we want them to be, and then stick the end of those wings down. Have I got any give left in that bow? No, that's fine. We'll leave it where it is. Now we want a greeting of some sort. What shall we have? You are simply wonderful. How big is that one? Might be a bit too big. Yeah, I think too big. Fabulous sentiment, but I think too big for what we want on this one. This is from, appropriately, Butterfly Wishes, and it says, "A sweet friendship refreshes the soul." Now, I know some people will go, "Oh, that's lovely," and others will go, "Ooh, that's very sickly." But it's different. Let's go with different. Ah, love a bit of twine. Do love my twine. Lucy. Right, I'm going to go on to black card for this, and I'm going to emboss it with white. Let's see how that comes out. I think it will just pop against those bright colours, hopefully. Just get a little paintbrush. Pop the lid on so that we don't knock it over, because that is quite frustrating. It makes a mess and you get frustrated because you've wasted your embossing powder. Or is that just me? Go inwards or outwards? Let's go inwards. Yes, like that, I think. I'm going to put a couple of glue dots on the back of that. Don't want it to be up as high as with dimensionals. So we'll go for glue dots. And I'll have that in line there. Let's just come down a smidge. And then I'll put some glue on the back of there. And I think what that needs is to carry on that black theme. Let's have a few little black matte dots. How's that for a funky butterfly? So we've used a background. We've used some of those fun little dies that give us some texture in the background. We've die cut a whole load of butterflies and we've coloured one in with Stampin Blends. So there's one fun card. But I think one of the things that people are probably going to sort of say about this set is the fact that, you know, you're just doing 6 butterflies. What if I only want one? So let's have a little bit of a play. We'll stick with our Stamparatus. I'm going to put my little butterflies here to one side. I shall play with those on another occasion, I'm sure. Now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to decide which butterfly we would like to stamp. So I'm going to go, let's see, no particular rhyme or reason. Let's go for this one in the top, okay? So I'm going to take a little bit of, I've got some shimmery white actually, I think, because I think we will perfect. I think we will go for some watercolouring this time. So I've got a piece of paper there that is just right for that particular butterfly. So I haven't got to cut all of these butterflies out. I'm just going to cut that one. Now I've not stamped it, I'm just going to cut out my butterfly. There he is, one butterfly cut from a scrap of shimmery white cardstock. I wasn't quite sure how they would go, Glenda, but they did work, didn't they? You just got to play, haven't you? It's all good fun. Beautiful brights. Clean up our butterflies again. I'm going to put my piece of card in here that I cut those butterflies from earlier. I'm going to take my stamp and line it in the holes to make sure that it's all lined up beautifully. Right, so we now know that that card and those stamps are lined up. So I'm going to take my shimmery white cardstock butterfly and lie it in the hole. And I'm going to take, because I'm going to do some watercolouring, I'm going to take my Stays On ink. And it's this butterfly here that I need to ink up. So just going to concentrate on inking that. We might get some ink on some of the others, but we're not going to worry too much about that. Could have perhaps put a bit of grid paper underneath there, or scrap paper. But let's just ink up that butterfly and stamp him. Let's make him a bit darker. Brilliant. Right, let's take you out of there. So I have got a bit of ink on there, but I'll be able to clean that up afterwards. That's not a problem. So we have managed to stamp and die cut one single butterfly without doing all of the rest. So this one I'm going to take some ink to. Let's go gorgeous grape and misty moonlight. Might bring in a bit of So Saffron. We will see. So actually I think, so you should be able to go back and watch it, Lucy, if you haven't. So I've just used my Stamparatus to stamp and cut out. Well, I've cut out a single stamp and butterfly. Stays On. So Stays On is a type of ink. So there we are. It stays on with a Z in it. And the thing to remember about Stays On is it stays on. So that's the sort of ink that you want. It's a solvent-based ink. So if you are stamping on anything shiny, like acetate or those sorts of things, you really want Stays On ink. If you're watercolouring like we're going to do, we use Stays On ink, but because it's a solvent based ink, it doesn't move when I add the ink. So if I was to use a water based ink, the minute I use my water painter and my brush, the ink would move, so I'd end up with a splodge. But Stays On stays on. It's a solvent based ink, so as I add my colour on the top, the image underneath stays where it is. So it's quite smelly, smells sort of almondy, marzipan. Some people love it, some people hate it, the smell that is. But do remember, it is a solvent based ink, don't sniff it too much. I'm sure that can't be good for you. And it's one of the ways where you sort of, as you get more into things, you learn which ink to use with what. So we use blender pens on the last butterfly, which are solvent based pens. So because we use solvent based pens, we definitely didn't want to use Stays On, which is a solvent based ink, because again the solvent in the pens would make the solvent in the ink move around. So the rule of thumb is always make sure that you mix your alcohol with water. So if you've got a solvent or alcohol based ink, then you can use water with it, or if you're using water you need a solvent or alcohol based ink. If you are using solvent or alcohol based pens, you need a water based ink, so you need, which is why Memento tends to be recommended. You can get away with some of our ordinary ink pads as well. It's a bit of trial and error. So we've got a bit of a yellow burst in there. Let's bring in some just going to squeeze this water brush off on there. Let's bring in some gorgeous grape. So the nice thing obviously about watercolouring is that you can make it a bit more sort of blending into each other. I mean, you can do that with the pens as well, but get a sort of softer gradation of colour. Washing machine is now taking off. Clean my brush up again. I'm not going to worry too much because I'm going into a darker bluey ink, so it's not going to particularly contaminate it. And as you can see, I've got ink in my lid. Actually, that will be from my blender brushes more often than not at the moment. So let's come in on the end here. With a bit of blue. And you can go back in, and the more water you add to your ink, the paler the colour. And I think I'll bring some blue in. Let's come in a bit darker on that. There we go. So there we have a watercoloured butterfly. You could use your blender brushes to blend some colour onto these. That would be quite pretty. And you could do like ombre effects over the whole sheet and then die cut them. That would be lovely. Right, let's have a look at this brick die just here. I'm going to get myself a bit of a random bit of white card, and I'm going to run this through here. Now what you can see with this is if I lift that off, this is now sort of got the brick holes in it, and then here you've got all the little brick dies. So whichever way round you want to do it, you have two options. You could add in some brick type pieces stuck on, or you could cut some bricks into it. Now let me do this again. And I am going to bring in a blender brush. I'm going to cut a piece of crumb cake card that is 14.4 by 10. And then going to take it and tear it. Sorry Bonnie if you're watching this and catching up. I know it's your birthday today, but we're tearing card anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up some crumb cake ink. I could have gone darker, but I think I'm going to, well, we'll see. We'll see how dark it is. So I'm going to tap my blending brush in there. Make sure that I tap it off before I start blending over the top. And I'm going to come over the top of my stencil that I have now created. I think I am going to come in a smidge dark. I'm going to come in, I think, with soft suede. So I'm not altering my brush or anything, I'm just coming over the top of there. Come in this way. And obviously you might have more time to make that a bit darker than I have. But we've got like this brick effect on there. I'm going to use my blender brush and come around the edges. I have to say this is where I do love my glass mat, because when you're doing this on paper, the paper soaks up the ink, whereas with your glass mat it sits on the top, so you're constantly picking it back up and sort of almost reusing it on the edge of your project, which is a problem if it's not a colour. If you've used one colour and then you're going into another colour, you need to make sure you've moved to a different piece of the mat or cleaned it up. I am so pleased that we have now got these blender brushes. They do make the whole sort of adding colour to the edges of projects and things so much easier. And particularly with torn edges, you really pick up the detail in your torn edge when you've inked the edge. There we go, we've got a nice torn edge. We've got a quite soft effect on our butterfly there. I think this one. I'm actually going to bring in, let's go really vintagey grungy. I'm going to bring in the very Versailles pad there, and what have I just done with that soft suede ink? It's here. Let's add in a little bit of script, and I think we'll come in as well with our again using the soft suede. Link that up. So just stenciling, stamping on the background. Got a really pretty background there now. Just need to decide what colour to put in that background. Yes, let's come with some soft suede. I'm going to cut this now to 14.4 by 10, which is what our crumb cake started off with before we started tearing the edges. Come on to a misty moonlight carved base. Let's come in with some linen thread on this one. I think I'm going to have that on an angle, so I'm going to stick that to that. I'm going to take the Old World paper embossing folder, and I'm going to Old World paper that piece of cardstock. Before sticking that on, as we're going grungy, let's make that grungy too. Yes. I'm also going to take my bone folder and I'm going to curl that edge a bit. Okay, now I'm going to stick it on. Now this particular linen thread has come untwisted for some reason. Obviously something went a little bit wrong when it was being twisted to go onto the spool in the first place. But actually, this particular project, I think that might work in my favour. Everywhere the time is moving on. We seem to have been playing for a long time. Sorry, I've just got lost in what I'm playing with really, and you're just along for the ride. So we will stick that on there. Let's bring this across here. And we'll split that one up at the top, and then we will stick this on here. So I think if you hadn't got already coming apart twine, that would have been a good reason to pull it apart really. But it just so happens that that bit was. We'll put our butterfly on, so I'm going to stick this one on directly. Again, just down the middle so that the wings are free. haven't curled this one quite so much, but the watercolour process is giving it a little bit of a curl. And then I think we'll have what about Trust Me You're Lovely? Let's bring in our soft suede. Actually, I'm going to go early espresso. I'm going to stick with the browns, but I'm going to go darker still. Just to ensure that it pops nicely off that background. We've got Trust Me You're Lovely. A little bit of soft suede. To cut that so it's wide enough, and then I'm going to tear that in so that I can stick them together and then trim it where I want it to be. Trim this end like that. Just going to stick that in under there. And underneath that butterfly. I'm going to just take some of these little wooden embellishments and just add some of those on to keep with that sort of naturals colours. And 1, 2, and 3. So I think it's fairly safe to say they are very different cards. Now I've already done a couple of cards with this. This was one that I did with the paper, so this was before I had the stamp set. So this is just those die cut butterflies with the paper. This edging here is the bit either side of the paper where I've cut it out. I used a little butterfly yesterday in my frame that I created with the hydrangeas, so great for adding little extras. And there is another card somewhere, but there's been a couple on my blog post, on my website, on my blog over the last couple of weeks. But then today now we've got the stamp set, we've been able to play some more. So where has my bright bright bold card gone? We've had so much stuff out. Look, I buried it. So we've had one card that's really quite vintagey, and the other one, I really had buried it, very bold and bright. So two very different looks with one very fabulous suite of products. So don't forget that you can get that now, but you're not going to find it in the catalogues, but you will find it on the website. And obviously, if you're here in the UK and you need me to help you with any of that, do get in touch. So thank you for coming to play. Thank you for indulging me while I played, I think, this morning. And if I ever find that paper, the borrowers bring it back. We'll have a play with that another day. But have a lovely, lovely weekend, and I will see you very shortly on Monday.